Coming up on this episode of Insights into Technology, imagine ransomware so deep it hides under your operating system. Now imagine your microwave helping cybercriminals move stolen data. Meanwhile, Microsoft Teams just blocked out your screen mid-screenshot, like it's a Netflix original, and the UK is politely begging developers to please, for the love of security, write better code. Oh, and Intel chips are leaking again. Surprise! This is Insights into Technology.
Insightful podcasts by informative hosts. Insights into Things, a podcast network. Welcome to Insights into Technology, a podcast exploring the latest in computers, networking, home automation, mobile computing, and all things technology related. Our hosts will take a deeper dive into the latest and greatest in tech trends and give you the information you need to enable your tech-centric world.
This is Insights into Technology, episode 27. Patch fast, code nice, and maybe don't use that 2012 router. I'm your host, Joseph Whalen, and this is your tech news of the week. First up is an article from the Register, When Ransomware Goes Deep. In a recent report, the Register highlights a concerning development in cybersecurity: the potential for ransomware to target CPUs at the microcode level. Christian Beek, a senior director at Rapid7, presented a proof of concept demonstrating how attackers could exploit a vulnerability in AMD's processors to load unauthorized microcode. This method could allow malware to operate beneath the operating system, evading traditional security measures and persisting through system reboots. While this threat remains largely theoretical, it underscores the evolving nature of cyber attacks and the need for robust security measures that extend beyond software. Organizations must consider hardware-level vulnerabilities in their security strategies to protect against such sophisticated attacks. So it might be worthwhile first to talk about what microcode is and why it's being targeted by hackers. Microcode is low-level code that controls CPU operations. By modifying it, attackers can alter fundamental system behaviors, potentially bypassing security measures. Unlike traditional ransomware that encrypts files at the OS level, microcode-level ransomware operates beneath the operating system, making it harder to detect and remove. Implementing hardware-based security features, ensuring regular firmware updates, and adopting a zero-trust security model can help mitigate these risks. Currently, there are no confirmed cases in the wild, but the development of proof of concepts indicates that the threat is plausible and could materialize as attackers become more sophisticated. And if history shows us anything, if there's a proof of concept out there, chances are it's going to wind up in the wild very soon afterwards. So we're definitely going to have to keep an eye on this one. Next up, Dark Reading tells us the Brits want devs to play nice. The UK government has published a new voluntary code of practice aimed at helping software developers embed security into the software development lifecycle from the outset. The Software Security Code of Practice includes 14 guiding principles focused on ensuring software is secure by design and secure by default. Targeted at developers across both the public and private sectors, the initiative is part of the UK's broader national cyber strategy. It seeks to reduce vulnerabilities in commonly used applications and promote consistent, proactive security standards in software development workflows. So this strikes me very much like what today's version of CMMC 2.0 turned into. Back in the 2017, 2018 timeframe, the DoD over in the United States here started pushing companies that were doing contract work for the federal government to come into alignment with NIST 853 and NIST 800-171 standards, which are basic cybersecurity standards. And it was suggested at that point in time, too, that you should be, with the understanding that at some point in the future, it was going to be a requirement. 6 years later, 7 years later now, we're finally getting to that point where these suggestions are becoming regulatory issues now, regulatory requirements, I should say. I suspect this is going to happen sort of the same way over in the UK. They're going to introduce these suggestions. They're going to start encouraging people to go this route, and ultimately they're going to force you to do it through legal measures later on down the line. How far down the line that's going to be, I don't know. But that certainly shouldn't be an obstacle in adopting these standards and becoming compliant, because ultimately you and your organization are going to benefit from compliance and the enhanced security. You're going to wind up building better products, more secure products. You're going to enhance the security of your customers and your vendors. So all in all, it's a good thing, but assume that this is probably going to become law down the line, and it's not going to be voluntary. But they're moving in the right direction, and I think that's the important thing here. I suspect with the talk of S-bombs and so many other similar evolving methodologies over here in the United States, that we're probably going to wind up going that route as well on this side here. Next up, Security Week tells us patch now or cry later. Researchers recently disclosed techniques for bypassing web application firewalls, or WAF, protections by manipulating special characters and HTTP request formatting. The flaws affecting Radware's Alteon and Defense Pro systems could allow attackers to evade filtering rules, potentially leading to unauthorized access or injection attacks. Radware issued a statement clarifying that these vulnerabilities were responsibly disclosed to them in 2023 and promptly addressed in software updates. The company emphasized that customers running updated versions of their WAFs are already protected. This is a classic example of patch when the patch is available. Some of these devices may be stuck in closets or set up once and forgotten about because they perform a singular function within your company or something like that. But that's a dangerous mentality. If you're not patching on a regular basis, this one was patched 2 years ago, and there's no reason for anyone to be getting hit with this. So keep an eye on your patch cadence. Make sure that you're patching in a timely manner. You're looking for vulnerability disclosures with anything that your organization is actually using. And make sure you have rapid patch adoption. That doesn't necessarily mean throwing the patch into production as soon as it comes out. I highly recommend that you have, even if it's a microcosm of your whole network, you have a test environment that you can throw this into to make sure it doesn't break any of your corporate applications. It doesn't break any off-the-shelf applications. It doesn't cause any performance issues. Test them out beforehand, but make sure you're patching. I think that's probably one of the easiest things we can do. There's enough vulnerabilities. There's enough adversaries out there that are looking for people that they can hit. We don't need to make that any more of an issue by not patching when patches are available. We're going to take a quick break, but before we do, I want to take a moment to invite our listening and viewing audience to subscribe to the podcast and to reach out to us. You can find audio versions of this podcast listed as Insights into Technology, or you can find audio and video versions of all the network's podcasts listed as Insights into Things, anywhere you get a podcast. But let us know how we're doing. What are you interested in the stories we're talking about? Do you agree or disagree with some of our takes on the news that we talk about here? Do you find our deep dives useful? Are there deep dive topics you'd like us to do? Email us at comments@insightsintothings.com, or you can call in and leave a voicemail for us. If you want, we can get you on the show. You can reach us at 856-403-8788. That's 856-403-8788. Again, we don't have someone live answering that phone. We're not doing it live on broadcast, but you can leave a voicemail and we will attend to the voicemail and get you on the show as appropriate. We'll be right back after this message.
Are you tired of your favorite gaming podcast finishing with a play?
Oh, no!
Well, check out No Credits Rolled, where we play the games but rarely finish them. How's it going, folks? I'm Sam Whalen, your friendly host at No Credits Rolled, the ultimate gaming podcast, where we dish out the latest scoops and reviews on all your beloved video games.
Hey, listen!
Not only that, but we spice things up with some guest interviews and even give you, yes, you, a chance to have your say. Tune in every other week for a fresh dose of No Credits Rolled, available on all major podcast platforms, and hit us up on social media at No Credits Rolled. So why wait? Let's dive into the gaming world together, where finishing games is optional, but the fun is guaranteed.
Teams meetings now with built-in cloaking device. This one comes to us from Bleeping Computer. Microsoft is set to introduce a new prevent screen capture feature in Teams, aiming to enhance the security of sensitive information shared during meetings. Scheduled for rollout in July of 2025, this feature will render the meeting windows black if a participant attempts to take a screenshot, effectively preventing unauthorized captures. The functionality will be available across Teams desktop applications for Windows and Mac, as well as mobile applications for iOS and Android. Participants joining from unsupported platforms will be automatically placed in audio-only mode to maintain content security. So the interesting thing about this is I don't know how big of a problem this is. Typically, most people that are on your meetings are people that you're presenting information to that it's okay if they say it. If it's something that you don't want distributed, that's where NDAs or non-competes come into place. You make sure you have those on hand. So I haven't heard any complaints. I haven't heard any rumbles from the industry that this is an ongoing problem. And even this fix itself is really a limited fix, because if somebody wants to capture that information, they can just set a camera up on their screen to capture that information. Obviously, it won't be as high quality, but the information is going to leak no matter what. It was also not immediately clear how this feature is going to really work. Is it just for people that are trying to use the screenshot function in Windows? Is it people that are using screen clipping? Do applications, for instance, whenever I have to go out and grab any kind of footage or anything from the internet, I'll use the screen capture functionality built into OBS. Is that blocked? Gamers have, screen capture cards built in that they can capture throughput on. Is that blocked? I don't see, and we haven't really seen how extensive the security features are on this right now. So I don't think they're going to be all encompassing. So I think the issue itself is probably limited, and the solution to that limited issue is even more limited. I'm just puzzled why Microsoft is wasting time on this when they're laying off 3% of their workforce. I have to imagine they've got better things to work on than an answer to a question nobody seems to have. Maybe that's me. I think time could be spent on other things that need more attention. But anyway, we'll see. We'll get a copy of this. We'll probably get a pre-release copy of it and play around with it and see just how extensive the blocking is on it. But I don't think it's going to be particularly extensive. Next up is an article from InfoSecurity Magazine. Your IoT device might have a side hustle. A newly uncovered malicious proxy server has compromised over 170,000 IoT and end-of-life devices globally, according to a report from security researchers. The network, operated by a threat actor tracked as proxy shell miner, all one word, turns vulnerable devices into anonymous relay nodes used to mask cybercriminal activity, including credential stuffing, fraud, and phishing campaigns. The infected devices include routers, DVRs, and other consumer-grade hardware, typically older models with outdated firmware or default credentials. These compromised endpoints are then monetized as part of a malicious proxy as a service operation. And this one goes back to what we've talked about in the past. If you've got IoT devices, you have to make sure they're from a reputable vendor and they're getting regular updates. If you're using first or second generation smart devices in your house that aren't getting regular updates, you need to get rid of them. It's time to upgrade. This isn't just something that's affecting your security now. This isn't anything new. This has been happening for some time now. These devices, these consumer-grade IoT devices, are being used to compromise other people. They're being used to build these botnets. And as responsible users, we need to make sure that we're taking care of these things. Organizations may unknowingly be part of this botnet if consumer-grade or unsupported devices are connected to corporate networks, such as via remote workers, or even third-party vendors could be bringing these into your environment. It does highlight the need for asset visibility, firmware lifecycle management, and automated vulnerability scanning, especially in hybrid work environments where you do have people inside and outside your network. So this is all basic stuff here. This is just another example of these what I think really at this point are fundamentally flawed devices becoming more of a security hazard. It's not going to change anytime soon, but we as the consumer, as the users, we need to be responsible with how we use these tools. I'm not giving mine up, even though I think they're a security hazard. I simply put processes in place so they don't run on my network. So at least my stuff is safe. But again, that's kind of a selfish attitude as well. We'll have to keep an eye on this one as well. The last article of the day comes from Bleeping Computer. The core problem, Intel's back at it. Researchers have uncovered like their new feature. Researchers have uncovered new Intel CPU vulnerabilities that could allow attackers to leak sensitive data from privileged memory regions, such as the kernel, via speculative execution. You would have thought by now they would have pulled speculative execution out of their chips already, given all the problems they've had. But no. The flaws, disclosed under the name branch history injection, or BHI, and similar side channel techniques, impact a wide range of modern Intel processors. These vulnerabilities exploit how CPUs handle branch prediction and speculative execution, allowing malicious processes to access data they shouldn't see. Intel has issued microcode and firmware updates, and software vendors are releasing mitigations across operating systems and virtual environments. So this is one that an oldie but a goodie, I guess you could say, that we've been dealing with for quite some time now. This is really, along with all the other speculative execution issues that have come out of these processors, this is really only a major problem in probably shared cloud environments. Multi-tenant servers and virtualized environments are particularly vulnerable, especially in public cloud scenarios. The problem is that these are gimmicks in your processor. These are things that when one part of the processor is waiting for something else to finish computing, it goes out and it tries to compute the next several branches along the computation line, having answers already to what it thinks you're going to ask, and then it feeds them back in to make the overall experience faster. And what's happening is that information that's being computed further on down the line can be exposed and can be compromised. These are gimmicks that are used to try to tweak processors to get a little bit more operation out of them. And for the average consumer, it's not a problem unless your system's already been compromised. But if your system's already been compromised, none of the information in the execution chain is going to matter because you have direct access to the systems. So the only environment really where this comes into play is in cloud environments. The problem is these mitigations are applied across the board. And as a result, individual consumers wind up getting performance trade-offs when they're mitigating threats that really don't apply to them. So the feature that causes the problem is gimmicky. The solution that causes the problem is rather ham-handed in that they're throwing it down everybody's throat. Ultimately, it comes down to compliance and risk management. Enterprises need to reassess hardware-level exposure in their risk models, especially for regulated industries like healthcare and finance. So this is one of those things where it's an issue, but it's an issue only under certain circumstances. And you have to kind of evaluate where you fall into that threat chain. If you're someone who is working in a shared environment, or even if you have a virtual environment that you run internally where you've got multiple servers running on the same hardware, even though you're not exposing that to the outside world, a compromise on one of those virtual machines could be a compromise on all those virtual machines. So you have to be careful with that. That was all we had for the news. I was going to do a third segment today, and we're going to start with an introduction to passkeys, but I think I'm going to hold off this week because I'm kind of running up against the clock. We'll start with that next week. We'll start with an introduction on passkeys, and we'll dig a little deeper into that starting next week. Before we do go, I did want to thank a few folks. We had several followers, several viewers follow us on Twitch. So I wanted to give shout outs to Entropy_Cat, Nikki Jams1, Repentant Man, and Will_likes Fortnite. Good for you, Will. I liked it for a brief time too. But that was all we had for the show today. Before we go, I want to once again encourage you to subscribe to the podcast. You can also find all of our social media links on our main website. We're available on Twitter or X at insights_things. You can find us streaming 5 days a week on Twitch at twitch.tv/insightsintothings. If you are an Amazon Prime subscriber, you do get a free Twitch Prime subscription monthly. We would really appreciate it if you threw that our way. You can also find links to all that more on our official website at insightsintothings.com. That's it. Another one in the books.